Hey, what's up, guys? You can probably see it in the name on this post, but my name is Truman. I was the center snare here last year at UNA, and the point of this video that I'm posting for you guys is just a breakdown of the technique that we used last year. It's been developing over the past couple of years, but last year was the main year that we used it. It's the same one that we'll be using this year. This video is mainly going to apply to snares, quads, and multis just in terms of the technique and the mechanics that are going on. I'm a snare drummer, so I'm obviously going to be playing snare drum, but like a lot of these things still apply to the upper battery. Obviously, bass drums and front ensemble, that's going to be different, but maybe that should be a separate video for those section leaders, but this is mainly going to be for those three sections. So, UNA's, I'm just going to start off by saying UNA's technique is a little bit different from a lot that are around here. I'm sure a lot of you all that have never played this technique before are used to just like a simple wrist rotation, bring your sticks up and just, that's about all you go. Just, you were told to turn your wrist. That still applies here. Keep that in mind. Like, this is just, the best way to explain it is this is just a little bit more flowy than that. You add some sauce to the wrist turn, if that makes sense. This style is more flowing than others. The best examples are groups like Blue Knights 2019 and back when Mike Jackson was caption head there, and Broken City. So 2016 to present. Watch those groups for a good reference if you're looking for somewhere at the technique besides UNA. Yeah, we're just gonna get right into it. It's like I said, you're still turning your wrist. Like, for any time you play drums, the main mechanic that's gonna be happening, the one that's the most visible, is the wrist turn. That's where mostly everything is gonna come from. But then you're going to add a little bit more to it. So the way that's going to happen is, rather than leading from the bead on the initial stroke, you're going to lead from the wrist. So there's going to be a slight wrist break, and then it's brought up to here. So like that. So the initiation with the stroke would be like that. Now, the common misconception with this is that we're using molar. Not really. This right here, this little wrist break that you see leading from the wrist, that's just to give the stick some weight. That's how you get a big sound using this technique. Obviously for multis and quads, you guys, it'll just be like this, but for snares, we play traditional, so it's going to look a little bit like that. Now you can see when I come up here, my stick does come back up here as if I was turning my wrist. It's just a different mechanic. Adds a little bit more weight to the sound. Now if I were using molar, it would look more like this. That is not what we are going for in the initial stroke. Maybe for like some showy thing later on, like later in the season, but that is not what we are going for. It's just, can you guys see the difference? So like, my stick is never pointing down. The initial prep is just here, and then it comes down. I know I'm reiterating this, but this is the most important part of the technique, and a lot of people are going to get confused on this part. So make sure you're doing that. It's just like a slight wrist break to give it some weight. And like I said, you're still going to turn the wrist. Now, for other parts of the technique, this is the part that I like to call the, what's it called? The the biscuits and gravy. So the biscuits are going to be the wrist turn. But that's not all you want to use. You want to have the biscuits and gravy. The gravy is the fingers. That's what allows the hand to open up and for us to get the sound that we want, the big sound. On that note, the sound that we get does not come from beating the crap out of the drum. That's a common misconception among a lot of people from all these drum corps and indoor groups who are like playing up here. They're like, oh, they're just beating the drum as hard as they can to get that big of a sound. No, that's not how it works. No matter what group it is, the sound comes from the stick being resonant. That and everyone hitting together at the same time. That's what creates this big sound. So in order to get that, you need to be able to engage both the wrist and the fingers. You can see that my fingers are opening up as I go up here, if that makes sense. And it's the same thing on the left hand. You can see that my fingers are opening up and that I'm engaging these to give it that little extra push. And then just to add, like, obviously at the bigger dynamics, you're going to add in just a little bit of the arm. That could be considered the jelly. I don't know. You can use whatever analogy you want. But whenever you hit the drum, just think of biscuits and gravy. So make sure you're engaging the wrist, fingers, and then both at the same time. And then add in a little bit of arm for that extra height. Just another thing that you can think about in terms of this technique is the phrase soft, heavy hands. Now what that means is your hands are soft. At any point, like if an instructor were to walk up to you and you're playing the drum, they can pull the stick out of your hand. You're not gripping it to where like your knuckles are turning white and your hand is shaking. Like the hand, like it's very loose in there, which is creating that resonant sound again that we're going for. But you're also using the natural velocity of the stick to get the heaviness. That's where the rebound comes from, if that makes sense. So we do not squeeze the stick at UNA at all. There is pressure at times, a healthy amount of pressure for like diddles or anything like that, but we do not squeeze the stick. That just creates a bad sound quality, and you're going to stick out, and that's how people dirt out. Because obviously if you come to UNA, you probably have, and you make the line, you probably have the chops already to play the book, as we all do, and most of the time dirt comes from differences in approach, heights, dynamics, and the way that our hands are on the stick. Most of the time, it's squeezing the stick. So don't do that. Make sure you're practicing that. And now I'm going to tell you guys how to apply this technique to all 4 stroke types. So obviously, as I've been doing, I've been playing up here, full strokes. That's where this technique is very evident. Just a nice big full stroke, very resonant. The hands open up. For the downstrokes, this is where people start to squeeze. They want to like grip the stick so that it stays down there, and then their sound quality just gets really harsh. That's not what we're going for. Literally, all you need to do is engage the wrist and fingers and control it down there. That's how it stays down there. Not by like gripping it. It still rebounds to your set position height. Because if it didn't rebound, it would be a press into the head and the stick would stay there. It rebounds to that 1-inch height. Grace note height, if you will. And then for a tap, obviously you're down there. That could be considered a full stroke at 3 inches. It rebounds back to where it came from. And then upstroke, The upstroke is rebounding from down here to the full height. You want to make sure that you don't squeeze on this one either. Like, you're going to have to put a little bit of extra stuff in there just to make it happen, but it'll happen if you're relaxed and let the stick rebound. So again, this is what the 4 stroke types will look like on each hand. Pull, down, tap, up. Make sure you're practicing that as well. You're going to use those 4 stroke types at all times. Here it is on the left hand. I'll do it again. Pull, down, tap, up. And this is one of the last things that I want to hit on. You might have heard me say throughout this video that you want your hands to open up at the high end. I'm going to explain that a little bit for all of the heights. So if you're playing up here at the high end and like your hands are on the stick and stuff, like the stick can still resonate, but for a lot of people that's going to cause some tension and like you to hang on to the stick and get bad sound quality. So what I mean by open up, I don't mean like take your hands off of the stick, as some people might say. I just mean for you to relax your fingers and keep the fulcrums intact. So especially like on the left hand for snare drummers, this part right here, preferably this would stay somewhere, your middle finger would stay somewhere around the stick as well, but these can come off at the high end. It would be the same thing as on the right hand, like this part of the hand opening up as you go to the high heights. You can see on the right hand, you can see this part is opening up. And this is, you can see my hand opening up on my left hand. Like my middle finger is staying around there, my fulcrum is staying intact, but my fingers are coming up. Now, they're not out here. I'm not doing that. Okay? They're still remaining in close proximity to the stick for all the snare drummers out there. So yeah, just make sure you're working on that. Now that does not mean use all finger either. Like the full stroke should not be all finger. That is a combination of the biscuits and gravy, like we said earlier, wrist and fingers, and then the jelly with the arm. But the hand is just opening up. Now at 12 inches, obviously there's going to be a little bit less arm. The hand is still going to open up, but not as much. But you're still being relaxed while at 12 inches. And then once you get to 9, the fingers are still completely relaxed at 9 inches. But now there's a lot more flesh on the stick, as one might say. I know that's what my snare tech at Audio Theater always says. But you want to make sure you're like at 9 inches, this is not going to open up like that, and neither is the right hand. Like the flesh is going to remain in close or proximity to the stick. And then once you get to 6 inches, again, relax fingers, keeping the flesh on the stick. Obviously, that's going to vary on what you play, but just for the basic technique, that's what you want to go for at 6 inches, keeping all this on the stick. And then at 3 inches, your fingers are relaxed. You're not squeezing at all, but they do stay on the stick. There's no reason for them to come off at 3 inches because that's how you lose control. And there's a lot of intricate things down to 3 inches where if you take your fingers off the stick down there, then like you're just going to lose all of your control. Again, me saying keep your fingers on the stick down at 3 inches, that's not saying to squeeze, okay? You still want to keep the fingers relaxed. They're going to bounce a little bit down there, but they're always going to bounce back to the stick and remain in close proximity, pretty much staying on. But you still want the stick to be resonant. So basically, the goals in your practice when you're practicing this technique is to make sure that you are always getting that resonant sound. And you really need to self-analyze yourself about any part in this area where there might be tension, because that'll cause bad sound quality, especially in this area from your forearms and up. Because our philosophy at UNA is if everyone is relaxed and everyone is getting the resonant sound from the drum, that's going to create the big sound that we're going for. And I know there's at least some snare vets from last year who need to go over this technique as well. I'm not going to name any names, but I'm pretty sure you know who you are. But yeah, this is probably the most important thing that you can practice right now if you're just starting out, like auditioning for UNA, trying to make the line. You need to get this down. This is what we are looking for. And then as you get used to this, obviously the best way to practice any of this is just 8/8-16, you know. Obviously 8/8-16, finish the exercise. And play it at all heights. So 1 inch, trying to get a resonant sound, 3 inches, 4 inches, 6, 9, 12, 15. You have to be able to get this technique down at all those heights. Then once you get that, start applying it to the tuna chops packet that Dr. Wiggins posted, because that is also a bunch of technique things. That packet will contain some exercises for video assignments. Throughout the summer, if you make the line, they're going to appear a lot at chop sessions. So just make sure you're trying to apply this technique with everything. And then especially one of the most important things that you can do besides getting this technique down is obviously getting the technique down, but applying it to the packet once the packet comes out. So please don't like go around trying to learn this technique, and then as soon as the packet comes out, you just go back to your old habits. Okay, that's just going to set you up for failure, just to be quite frank with you guys. Yes, we're looking for you to be able to play the packet, but we're also looking for you to be able to fit in the sound, fit in the technique, be able to drum the way that we do. Essentially, that's saying when you come to this audition, you should look like what a UNA vet should be. You should be trying to fit in with those guys, or if you feel so inclined to do so, like shoot above and beyond, like all the dudes that go here. So, that's just a basic breakdown of the technique. I might post more videos later explaining some things, but that's what I got for now. If I was unclear about anything, or you just have any questions, you can message me on Facebook. I'm sure you would be able to email Dr. Wiggins. You can message any of the vets. If you would like another video of me doing this because I did a really bad job at it, I don't know if I did. You guys can be the judge of that. But if you want another video, like breaking things down even more, feel free to ask me for that, because I really like making these kind of videos. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, any questions, message me, email Dr. Wiggins or any of the other staff or the members, and I'm sure any of us would be happy to help, because we want you guys to have the best experience possible while auditioning here, and we want you guys to learn as much as you can so you can become a better player and benefit yourself and benefit this program. So thank y'all for your time, and I will see y'all again later in maybe another video. Peace.